Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe if you have a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. I appreciate it. But yo, about last night, and we have to call it last night, or technically I guess we could call it this morning because that event was long. A shout out to everyone who was on the stream with me. We went from basically the start of the event all the way to the moment it finished. I didn't even wait for the end, the ring announcements at the end because it was that conclusive. But over 6 hours, like 6 hours and 12 minutes, you guys was rocking with me. I appreciate it because it got a bit testy after a while. But yo, first things first. Shout out to Big Frank, Uncle Frank, to any other name that you may have for him. I'm not even gonna give any of the funnier ones right about now because yo, Queensberry broke up Matchroom 10-0 on the scorecards, 5-0 in matches. No matter who you thought was gonna win that event, there is absolutely no way you believed it was going to be a clean sweep on either side. But jeez, like Frank is definitely going to be doing the victory lap for the next week. Oh, I'm telling you guys, I don't even say this as hyperbole. After every single fight that one of Frank Warren's guys won, you saw him de-age 5 years. I swear down, I keep saying this every time, but he went from being 72 down to like 56, we'll say. I know I could say 52, but yeah, no, late 50s. Like the wrinkles just cleared up, the skin just looked more, more salient. He's just started glowing like a pregnant woman. It was amazing. I've never seen that from Frank Warren, but I've seen it once. But it's every time he seems to beat Eddie Hearn in a cross promotion. But boy, yes, it was a sight to behold. But before we start, lavishing more praise on the Queensberry guys, I've maintained on several occasions, and I've got no proof of this. So the next time I do manage to maybe speak with Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, Frank Warren, I will ask, in those 5v5s, was there a set pool of weight classes that you were told that you could pick from, as opposed to any weight class that you've got someone? Because every single weight class that Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn picked had loads of was basically stacked in Frank Warren's favor, just in terms of the depth of quality or the depth of personnel he's got at that weight class. Not saying that Eddie Hearn didn't have like good people or didn't even have maybe one or two great people there, but like just in terms of volume of numbers, yeah, like Queensberry had the run of the place on all four of the weight classes that were picked. So that is something I would like to find out. But with that being said, we got to talk about the event. So let's talk about the 6 fights, and primarily we'll kick it off with the way the event started, with Craig Richards and Hutchinson, the Hutch train as they call him. You know what, I'd seen Hutchinson a few times before. I always thought he had some skills, he had some styles. He was a very decorated junior amateur in Scotland. Didn't do much as an adult, but turned over fairly quickly. He's had some sort of decent skills and some flash and pizzazz and a bit of style. But I figured the better operator out of the two is Craig Richards. He might take a bit of time to sort of get into it, but he's going to sort of try to invest into the body from early and just pop that jab, use his height advantage, use his reach advantage, and basically just keep Hutchinson on the outside. But that's not what we saw. First of all, I mean, congratulations to Hutchinson. But I really don't know what to make of that fight. I mean, there's always been the, you know, this negative stigma around Craig Richards that he starts slow in fights. And not only did he start slow, but he was being made to miss and being made to pay, like, almost consistently. There's one thing that I've noticed from a lot of Craig Richards fights before, and I think I've said it previously, but if I haven't, I'm going to say it now. Because obviously he's like so sort of long rangy, and I'm not going to say, well, yeah, long rangy, little gangly in terms of his mechanics. He has a very noticeable tell anytime he's trying to throw a hook, especially from the left side. Like, he literally rotates and twists his whole body around, and it gives you like a full second, you know, before obviously that shot starts coming at you, for you to see it. So if you're quick enough, you can move out of the way, I guess, make him miss and make him look a bit foolish, which is something that Hutchinson did quite a lot in the especially in sort of those first opening rounds. But Craig he wasn't cutting off the ring. He couldn't get his jab really working. He was trying to invest in the body, but he wasn't really digging down to the body. I thought, being the taller, the longer, rangier guy, maybe you pump that jab into his chest. You keep pushing it into his chest and forcing him to to push back towards the ropes, so that he hasn't really got anywhere to go. Just maybe try and hold him there. You know, try and connect just stay on the inside. There was a lot of things I was thinking, this is what you just do to this person that wants to style and profile. You just grind them down, and he just couldn't do it. I don't know if he couldn't do it or he wouldn't. I don't know. He started very slow. He was made to look amateurish at times. It actually did look like it was an amateur versus a pro. And that's a damning indictment, considering some of the level of competition that Craig Richards has been in there with. It was a bad loss. Now, funny enough, my scorecard was a lot closer than the judges, because he did have some success in those like middle rounds, and even in those middle rounds I thought, oh, okay, he's about to come into this, but he couldn't get to grips with the southpaw switch it in, and it's like every time that Hutchinson was in orthodox, he was having more success, but as soon as he switched to southpaw, it's like Craig just looked a bit lost. Like, biomechanically, I just don't think he just wasn't in rhythm, wasn't in sync. The thing is, I'm gonna say, for me, even though I had the scorecards fairly close, I look at the performance as being a lot worse, because I believe, as in, I know what Craig Richards is capable of. But yeah, look. Also, I guess I gotta say shout out to Hutchinson's chin, because maybe it was the fact that he went down to 168 and drained himself why he couldn't take them shots from Lennox Clark, because he did take a couple of Ross licks from Craig in those middle to late rounds, and he stood up to them. He even held his feet at one point and started trading, and obviously that's when he got his nose broke up, and I thought, oh, okay, he's run out of gas now, so this is where Craig's going to get the opportunity to pull this fight around. But Hutchinson, he stuck in there, and not only did he take those shots, and he didn't take all of them that great, but he managed to survive them, and he even traded back at times. There was a couple of times it looked like he had Craig rocked a few. I think it was in the 10th round where they had that big back and forth round in the fight, where he hurt Craig, then Craig hurt him, and then he tried to come back, but it really picked up in the sort of the last, I think, between rounds 8 to 11 were sort of the highlights of the fight. The first 6 were a bit boring, and the last round was just basically, it was a styling, it was a schooling by Hutchinson that I can't really give him any more praise than what I am right now. Despite everything that kind of went on leading up, like, I'm judging it based on what was in the ring, and in the ring, like, we saw what looked like levels between the two people, and ultimately and honestly, I don't know what Craig does next. I mean, he said he wants to be back at those world titles. I don't think he's not getting another world title shot now in any capacity. So Maybe it's just to have some fun fights and some big paydays on the domestic scene, the European scene potentially. But yeah, in terms of that world title aspiration, I just can't see it. Yeah. And also one other thing which I'm really sort of annoyed with Craig with from last night. There were several, and also maybe the referee as well. There were several times where Hutchinson was turning his back, walking away, like with his, basically not even looking at his opponent. The referee's not telling him you need to turn around. But there was one time earlier on where he did that, and he stepped in, and Hutchinson hit him with the back of the glove, and I think the referee did say, like, watch the glove, gotta be knuckles or whatever. But my issue is Craig was just walking around after him. Like, in that moment, I'm sorry, if you look at the last round where the last fight where Zhang Zhilei caught Deontay Wilder with the counter right jab over the top when Wilder was trying to throw the punch, and Wilder ended up spinning around and turning. You saw Zhang run towards him and clap him in the side of his face. A legal shot because it was at the side, but he wasn't looking. He didn't see where he was at. Protect yourself at all times. Bang, that's what you do. Several times, Hutchinson is literally there, like with his back turned or walking away, and Craig is just kind of walking after him, or like maybe just standing still, looking at him, waiting for him to turn around so he can re-engage. No, clap him, run up to him, swing a big even swing it down low if you got to. Say if he tries to dip, he end up dipping into the shot. Hit him in the, look, I'm gonna say this. While I don't hit him in the back of the head, like literally show him and show the ref, well, okay, if he's gonna turn around, I'm gonna take whatever target he gives me. You do that once or twice, he's not gonna turn his back to you anymore. He's gonna have to engage, or he's gonna have to run. There just didn't seem like there was any urgency in that first half of the fight, and then towards the end, it just looked like he was out of ideas. But yeah, I need to see what they'll do moving forward. Again, like, because I know what he can do, or what I've seen him do before, it make this, my criticism is even more for how this fight played out. But yeah, that's that one. Now, here's the only fight where I disagree wholeheartedly with who won. It's also, I guess, maybe the one that was least conclusive. So you could maybe say that. But Ray Ford versus Nick Ball. First off, to me, this was fight of the night. There was some back and forth in it, but I had Ray Ford winning this fight clearly. I had it 117, 111. The first 6 rounds were split 3 apiece. And a lot of that, the thing is, a lot of the rounds that I gave to Nick Ball in that first, he wasn't even landing a lot. He was just being busier. Ray Ford sometimes was just sort of allowing himself to get pushed onto the ropes. He was countering off of the ropes. He was blocking and parrying a lot of the shots that Nick Ball was throwing. He was making him fall into range a lot of times, and he was coming back with the better shots, both to the body, to the head. He was actually getting through the guard. Like, he was just doing a lot of good, clean, efficient work in there. But Ball was maybe just nicking some of those rounds off of activity. So that's why I gave it 3-3 out. But after the 6th round, so from round 7 all the way up to round 12, I believe this is the way I had it. I either had it 3-3 or I had it 4-2 after 6. Actually, it might have been 4-2 after 6, and then maybe I gave Nick Ball another round. I'll have to check my scorecard, but you guys will find that out on the breakdown, or you can go on Twittex and look at it there. It's there. But yeah, after that, Ford just basically took over the fight. Yes, Ball, he would land a couple of those lead uppercuts through the guard from time to time, but Ray Ford was landing his own. He was landing to the body. He busted up Nick Ball's nose. Nick Ball, I think it was a head clash that caused a cut to Ray Ford over this eye, and I think a punch might have caused another one. But ultimately, you look at the two of them, like, Ray Ford ended that fight in a much better condition than Nick Ball did. He controlled the pace of it throughout. There was never a moment in the fight where Nick Ball had it all his own way, or he had basically the momentum shifting in his favor. A lot of it looked like him trying to punch against the tide and just trying to sort of basically, you know, win on activity, or trying to get in for one quick flurry, go dip in, get a flurry off, try to see if you can hurt him in that flurry, get backed off of the flurry, off of some other hard shots, sort of, you know, lean back off, try and see if you can get yourself back into the back into range to do it again. The majority from round 5 onwards, the pace of the fight, everything was sort of, you know, it was at Ray Ford's pace. Now, yeah, obviously he took shots, it was competitive, there was definitely back and forth rounds. There may have been I may have one swing round. For me personally, yes, there was a lot of competitive stuff, but yeah, Ray Ford just did the better work. So the fact Nick Ball ended up getting a split decision victory, I definitely disagree with. But shout out to Nick Ball. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about how it should have been a unification and he was screwed against Ray Vargas. Again, I told you guys I had it scored a draw, him and Vargas, so I don't think there was any injustice there. But you know, it was spoken about so much over the lead up to this. I'm sure pretty much there's a way I can see maybe close rounds judges having in their mind, oh well, he was jobbed on the previous card, so maybe we'll give him that one. And maybe it was a lot of the flurries was just the judges saw flurries and they saw shots hitting, you know, looking like they was hitting, where they was landing on gloves, or they wasn't landing, or he was being made to fall short in shots, but he's initiating action, so they just look at it and see, oh, maybe he's we'll give him that because he threw a lot more shots than the other guy. Obviously, that's not the way things are scored, but hey. But, you know, now Ray Ford moves up to 130. This isn't a loss that is going to... he's not going to be defined by this loss. He's not going to be deterred by it, and he's not going to be ultimately like dropped by a Matchroom or pushed down the pecking order due to this loss, because again, as far as I'm concerned, you look at that, he won that fight clearly. There was and it was a fight he wasn't supposed to be taking anyway, because he was supposed to move up after his last fight, and he got sort of coerced into sticking around for one more fight by Eddie Hearn. But that was initially under the guise of this being a unification. From it stopped being a unification, I probably would have said, you know what, I'm gonna move up, because this is all risk for me and there's no real reward apart from maybe the money. But hey, you don't even get the bonus, so boy. Next one, Ammo Williams and Hamza Shiras. Now, this is another one. Obviously, on the night I got wrong. I predicted that Ammo Williams would win this one via split decision. I thought that basically Shiras obviously has some issues around the chin. He doesn't, you know, he's not that prolific. He's a bit economical, and Ammo is sort of very, you know, he's not a slick guy, but he's a very explosive, athletic guy, and he's got, you know, pretty quick feet, pretty good movement to be able to get in and out of range. So I figured that you know, Hamza would probably get a foothold in the fight early, and then sort of get maybe ragdolled a little bit towards the back of the fight, have to sort of hang on, but ultimately sort of lose via a split decision. And it actually flipped on its head, because in the first part of the fight, over the first 4 rounds, it was actually Ammo Williams who was having the success. He actually, on the second round, launched a straight left down the pipe, which really rocked and hurt Hamza Shiras, buckled him, knocked him into the ropes basically, and obviously Ammo went in trying to go in for the kill, but Hamza, being sort of that big tall guy, was able to tie up Ammo and literally just hold him, and just held on up until the point where the ref managed to break them. And that was sort of, you know, one crisis averted. But he was on his bike from there, like very unsteady. His legs were wobbly for sort of the rest of that round. Round 3, he was trying to get himself back composed. But he did sort of land a couple of decent shots in the third round. Then the fourth round, same thing happened again. He wasn't buzzed as badly this time. It's almost like he had absorbed the shot of the power from the first one and said, okay, I can take this. But he had another sort of mini moment where things was just getting on top. And I thought, oh, okay. So I was definitely looking to sort of take this fight early. But after that fourth round, it then pretty much became the Hamza Shiras show for definitely sort of the next 3 or 4 rounds. I think Ammo may have had one round in there where he sort of, he managed to do a bit more work, did a bit of better work, but that jab from Hamza Shiras was just busting up Ammo. Every time Ammo was trying to step in, just boom, jab was hitting him, boom, jab was hitting him. His right eye was just swelling, like after a while he barely had any vision out of it. He was then started getting caught with the backhand as well. To be fair, I mean, credit to Williams, because he's got a pretty good chin, because he took some shots flush and stayed on his feet. Yeah, a bit of a wobble here and there, but he was just, he stayed in it all the way to the 11th, where they told him, look, the only way you're gonna win this fight, you got to knock him out. So he tried to go for broke. He went in because he actually, right at the end of the 10th. That's it. The 10th round, I was actually giving that round to Ammo. I felt he was doing a lot of good work. Right at the end of that round, he gets caught with a counter left hook in close, and it looked like it grazed him, but it took his legs away. Right at the end, he managed to get up, get on his feet, walk to the referee, and then the bell basically saved him. They said, yeah, you gotta go for the knockout now. So he went out there and he tried to trade. He tried to start fast in that round. He was trading with Shiras, and then just got caught with I think it was a jab initially as he was stepping in, then got caught with almost like another jab, like a little sweeping right hook, I think it was, which basically stumbled him in towards the ropes, and then the referee jumped in and waved it off. It was a correct decision, because he was just taking punishment. He wasn't gonna, the chances of him surviving another round, especially the fact that he's actually trying to fight and is not trying to just survive, he probably would have got knocked down again and maybe out cold. But congratulations to Hamza Shiras. I've still got a couple question marks about his punch resistance, question marks about his stance, question marks about how he defends when he's under pressure. But being as tall as he is, I've got to give him credit for the way he was able to dig those elbows into the body to sort of kind of negate a lot of the body attack that he was suffering. But yeah, shout out to Hamza Shiras, and he was the captain, so that was a nice little 4 points for Frank Warren. At that point, it was 6-0 to Frank on the scorecard. But Matchroom still had the opportunity to make it a draw if they got 2 knockouts in the next 2 fights. Moving very quickly, Dimitri Bivol, Malik Zinad. Credit to Malik Zinad. He actually tried to come out. He tried to sort of do something. He wasn't just sort of running around trying to be defensive. He was fighting with Bivol, but in the first round, Bivol, even though he was getting hit with the jab, he was just keeping that front foot close to him, and he was going in a bit more aggressive than he usually does. They went into an exchange, 3-punch combo by Dimitri Bivol, knocked Zinad to the floor. You thought, okay, he might be looking to get him out of there quickly. Then we had 2-3 rounds of a bit more of just a bit meandering Bivol, but he's stepping forward, he's keeping the pressure on Zinad, jabbing to the body here or there. 5th round, he starts to turn it up a little bit. They have a little bit of a heated exchange where they bring their heads in together right at the end of the round. 6th round, basically he just steps on the gas. He does what we've all known he can do, which he's just refused to do for the last sort of 6 years. Just kind of go through the gears, sweep into the body, big shots up top. Zinad's rocking and rolling all over the place. Howard Foster eventually jumps in and stops the contest, and Bivol lets out a huge massive scream in the ring, which clearly tells you how either happy or satisfied he was that he finally got another knockout, or that it just the fact that he's still on task to be able to do his undisputed. Afterwards, His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh announced that in the opening of Riyadh season for this year, the 12th of October, the undisputed fight will be rescheduled for then. So it will be Bivol and Beterbiev in that fight there, and it will be for all the belts. So yeah, great news. Thank you very much and all of that. So we've got a turnaround. Next was the two heavyweight fights. I picked Filip Hrgovic to KO Daniel Dubois, and judging by the first 4 rounds of this fight, I figured I would be correct. Basically, Hrgovic couldn't miss Dubois with the jab or the right hand in those sort of first 2 to 3 rounds. And Dubois, there was a couple of times literally he like ran in and like just lunged into Hrgovic, trying to hold like he's holding on, like, oh, like I'm hurt, like I don't know what's going on. I need this time. But credit to Daniel Dubois, because he started he started getting to work. I think he caught, I initially thought it was a head clash, but I think he caught Filip Hrgovic with a left hook kind of that grazed over his, which caused a cut over his right eye. And that obviously was the start of Filip Hrgovic's downturn, basically, because he was still having some good success up until I think it was up until maybe round 5, but then I think he caught another cut at the end of round 5, and from there, yeah, Daniel Dubois was just in the ascendancy. Now, to be fair, the referee was constantly, he was on Filip Hrgovic about the rabbit punches, which is good, because, although he didn't actually throw many of them, not like he usually does in his other fights, and that's one thing I said, Daniel needs to make sure he's always in front of him so that he doesn't have the opportunity to go either to the side, or you can't try to lunge in with a shot and dip your head down, because if you do, you will get caught with those shots. But yeah, referee warned Hrgovic numerous times about that, so obviously he had to think about how he was throwing them shots. Daniel Dubois was actually going in with the head quite a lot. There was a couple of times it was just the two heads were sort of just in close proximity, and I think Daniel was trying to use the, sort of the gristle and the graves of his head to try and just get into the cut a little bit, like Evander Holyfield style, to try and open it up a bit more. But then there's other times he was actually coming in, with the head, doof, and the ref didn't really say anything until, like, I think it was the penultimate round of the fight where he stopped, where he held and said, look, don't do that. But by that time it was way too late. The fight had been beaten out of Hrgovic. He was tired. Daniel, his engine, his work rate, everything is starting to improve under Don Charles. Yeah, and then ultimately they broke up. I can't remember what round it ended in. I think it was the 8th round. But yeah, the referee split them up. He took Hrgovic to see the doctor. Doctors looked at both the cuts on the eyes and said, yeah, I recommend you stop this fight. He can't continue with those cuts. So Daniel got the technical knockout. Initially, I was wondering, is it a technical knockout, or is it going to go to technical decision? Because I thought that especially the first cut was caused from a head clash, but then saw the replays and realized that wasn't the case. So, Dynamite Dubois does it again. 2 big victories in a row. He's now the interim IBF heavyweight champion. Shout out to him. Look, big credit, because there's been a lot, I've said a lot about his questioning his heart and his mentality to be an elite guy, but something is clicked in him at the moment, and he's not even just a front runner at this point. He's able to come through crisis and actually grind out victories, which is something he wasn't able to do before. So look, big congrats to Daniel Dubois, and I hope to see what he does next, and win, lose or draw, I'm gonna be watching and I'm gonna be invested, because he's won my attention back on his career. Hrgovic, I don't know what he does. He'd been waiting around so long trying to get these title shots. Like he said before, if he loses this fight, if he can lose to someone like Dubois, then he's going to retire. I don't know if that's really the case, but yeah, he's got a task on his hand coming back. So that made it 8-0 to Frank, and it was like, woof, you thought. And then for me, I said, well, it's got to be 10, because Jang is gonna KO Wilder. That's the only prediction I actually got right for the whole night. And I got the round. I said he would KO him in the 5th round. That's the only one I got correct, but I'll take it at the end of the day, because boy, it was it was, you know, economic Wilder again, but he was, you know, trying to sort of find range with that left hand, circling around the ring. But every time Jang even just like touched him with something, it just pushed him and moved him back. The 68 pounds difference was visible on the night. Wilder eventually, in the 4th round, he actually started to get he tried to bring his right hand into play a few times. There was a couple times prior to that he threw the right hand, and Jang actually was able to just slip it, like, you know, that little micro slip. So on the inside he was very defensible, but he did get caught with a couple of shots, but they weren't full-blooded, but he got hit with a couple. But outside of that, you know, his guard was correct, his stance was correct, his judgment of distance was correct. Wilder managed to dip under his left hook on a few occasions, but ultimately when Wilder went to open up in round 4 and round 5, that's when he started to get caught as well. And yeah, he got caught in the 4th towards the end, stumbled back a little bit, and then in the 5th round he went to launch the right hand. They was pouring with the jabs. He went to launch the right, and you know, Jang with those quick Chinese power hands, right straight down the pipe from that southpaw stance, counter right, boom, straight down. Wilder discombobulates him to the point he actually spins round, turns around, back down. He looks like he motions to the ref like, what the hell happened there? But arms by his side. Next thing you know, big right hook. Like Wilder down on the canvas for, you know, couldn't defend himself. Head bounced off the canvas hard as well. He managed to get to his feet over the count of 8, so credit to him for that, because the ref did give him the count. He got to his feet, the ref said walk to me, he walked forward, but his legs was gone, stumbled, the ref just waved it off, said nope, done. So I don't know if that counted as I didn't even hear if they was counting that as a technical knockout or a knockout, but I would assume maybe because he allowed him to carry on or to walk forward, it must have been a TKO. But yeah, right person won. Right person was always going to win. I said that, you know, Jang would take this fight, and yeah, it worked. It pretty much went exactly as I had predicted it would go. Even how the fight played out, the mechanics of it. I think I said a lot of this in Basis Picks. If I didn't, then I thought it. The one thing I will say though, this further defeat, even though Deontay Wilder's, you know, past his prime and he's calmed down and he's zen now of ayahuasca, blah blah blah, this is doing even more damage to Tyson Fury's record. So now we can't talk about, he beat Klitschko, he beat the most feared puncher in the division. Well, that's starting to age like milk that's been left out in that Riyadh, Saudi Arabia heat in the summer, because Tyson Fury's entire legacy is starting to come apart at the seams right about now, and so is Deontay Wilder's, because that's yet another guy, another top 10, another world level guy he's been in the ring with that he hasn't been able to beat. So now that's literally one. He's got 2 top 10 victories, or 3 technically, because he beat one person twice, but 3 top 10 victories in his entire career. I mean, that's a damning indictment at this point. And yeah, it's time for him to call it a quits. It's time for him to call it a day. But his, history, I don't think is going to look kindly on his resume, on his record. He may still get into the Hall of Fame, but if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, someone grease the palms to make that happen, because yeah, the resume doesn't stack up. The title, the protected title doesn't stack up. He's just not. He's not that guy, nor has he ever been that guy. And by proxy, same is with Tyson Fury. So I'm not even going to get into the Tyson. We've spoken about that so much before. We're going to leave that for now. But yeah, look, Frank Warren, 10-0, 5 victories out of 5. Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith in the mud. Frank Smith is going to have to go into those Queensberry offices, and because it was a clean sweep, he's going to have to do it in a maid's outfit. Frank, I know that you're probably comfortable in your own skin, but that's hella embarrassing. And they're going to film it, and they're going to put it out on YouTube, and it's going to just stay there. And it's going to be on X and Twitter. It's going to be on TikTok. you're gonna be forever seen in that dress. You're gonna be like Oscar de la Hoya when he was in the fishnets. Like, it's just gonna live in infamy. There's nothing you can do to stop it. All of the media, you know, the IFL whores, they're gonna be there looking for the content. Maybe Boxing King Media's gonna go over there, Seconds Out, Boxing Social, Stomping Ground, Box Nation. Every channel is gonna see you in that dress for the day, like serving tea to people. Mate, it's not looking good for you. And as for Eddie, like, your stable took a big hit, because now you can't even have that #1 promoter in the UK tag right now, because your stable got cleaned up. It's not nice at all. You got a week to soak and try and plan how you're gonna get this one back. If there was an agreement in place about the weight classes, next time you say no agreement, I pick what weight classes I want to pick. That's what you've got to do at this point, because yeah, it's bad. But outside of Ray Ford, I'm going to say outside of Ray Ford, and maybe half and half to Philip Hrgovic, but even then, no, Hrgovic as well. Outside of Ray Ford, Eddie, your stable let you down. Like, I'll say that Williams probably gave the best, sort of the best account of himself outside, you know, in terms of the guys that I feel clearly lost, because that you know, he had that heart and desire and determination, and he tried for the team. But yeah, on the whole, like, they let you down. So maybe some conversations may have to be had, but I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. Frank Warren, thank you very much. It was a good night, but you guys, please sort out the timings of these events. Like, staying up till 1:15, 1:30 in the morning to watch an event that's supposed to be broadcast for UK and or for UK time zones, not good. Please, guys in Saudi, do something to make sure that your main events don't start after 12:30 local time at the absolute latest, because it's just not advisable. It's not fair for even those people to be up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, like, fighting. Like, they're fighting sleep more than they're fighting their opponents. That's not really a good look. But outside of that, you guys will figure that out. I'm sure eventually you guys will figure that out. But yeah, big respect to you. Good event. Very fun card. I enjoyed it. The watch along was great. Thank you again to everyone who was watching along with me. Thank you to Jack for that big £50 super chat that he put in. Put in a nice little £10 as well. There was more. D-Star Boxing came in with a little super chat, and I think someone else came in with it as well. So I made a nice bit of money off of that one. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys. But yeah, I will catch you on the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. New stuff coming, but until then, peace.